All right, Increase Army. We're going to talk today about why we must get debt free. Now, I think everybody likes this concept. Yeah. I kind of hear two camps. I want to be debt free. That's awesome. That's cool. But you don't quite see the urgency or maybe even the spiritual effects of being in debt. And I think that was me for a long time. I think we all want to be debt free in theory. And I was even saying I was believing for that, but my actions weren't lining up with that I really want to be debt free. And I'll just say this. I guess my thoughts and viewpoints have kind of changed on it recently. And I'm going to tell you why. And I think it's going to actually have a deep and profound impact on you. Now, the second camp is, debt's not a bad thing. And it's not horrible. I've kind of lived over here too, where, we had payments on cars and credit cards and houses, but it was fine. And, to some people it might have been a lot of money, but to us, we still had a lot of financial margin. Paying these monthly payments is nothing, super easy, no big deal, don't even have to think about it. But it was still debt. And then there's more than two camps. There's other camps where it's use debt all the time. Debt is great leverage. And I'm not here to knock anybody's beliefs or condemn anybody. I want to show you what God showed me and see what it stirs in you. That's all I'm trying to do here. And then there is another camp where it almost seems like debt is sin. And just to be clear, I don't believe debt is sin, but I do believe there's a better way to live. See, I want to go, oh man, this is going to be so important. Please let this change your life. What I want you to do is lower any shields, any previous beliefs that you've had towards debt, and just listen for a minute. Let me just show you some things in the Word. Okay? This is what happened to me earlier, I guess it was last year. I was praying, and God gave me a very clear phrase. But what was interesting is it didn't directly answer my question. So James 1:5 says, if we need wisdom for anything, just ask God. He'll give it to you. So I went to God and I said, Lord, what is your vision for my life? I've never asked that question worded like that before. And here was the clear answer I got. He said this. Travis, for me to fully use you, I need you completely free from all financial tethers. I know that's God because I don't use the word tethers. I said, God, what's your vision for my life? Travis, for me to fully use you, I need you completely free from all financial tethers. Isn't that interesting? Interesting phrasing as well. Okay, so this must be important to God. And it says, I thought this was interesting too, for me to fully use you. I know he's using me. We're doing some great stuff. We're changing lives for the kingdom. We're expanding the kingdom. Absolutely. He's using you too. But I wonder if it's fully. I wonder if there is some hindrances that have maybe attached to us and slowed us down, keeping God from being able to fully use us. Isn't that interesting? Okay? There's a lot of things. That's how God can do it. This is why the word in the scripture is so powerful is you could read a proverb, you could read a sentence just like this one and pull out 4 or 5 interesting things from it. You could look up the word tethers and see what that actually means. For me to fully use you, I need you completely free from all financial tethers. Maybe that's debt, but maybe that's some mindsets as well. Maybe that's some ideas, beliefs, and thinkings you have towards finances that's tethering you, limiting you, restraining you like a leash, holding you back from being fully used. You may be being partially used. Maybe you're running at 80%. But if you want to be at 100%, which I do, I need to be completely free from all financial tethers. So I want you to think on that for a little bit. Let that sink in. Maybe even write this down with your name in that place. Think on it. All right. Now, let's look at a couple scriptures. The first one I want to do, let's look at, well, let me put it this way. Oh, there's so many great things to teach here, guys. Thank you for staying with me. This will, I promise, stick with me to the end. There's going to be a lot of things in here that are going to just flip how you see stuff. And this alone could change your entire financial future, your family tree, your generational line. That's what I want to do. I want to impact your family 300 years from now with the stuff that you do today. And I think this might be one of those lessons. All right. So I'll put it like this. I was talking to a buddy, and he was like, look, Trav, debt-free is cool, but I have no desire. Like, it's not on my radar. Like I said, I'd rather just, I'm fine with just paying the bills. We'll just make extra money, have that financial margin, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get that. But you're telling me that you don't really feel like your debt is hindering or holding you back in any way. And he was like, man, not really. And I said, okay, why don't you take a vacation to the Bahamas for the next month? And he was like, well, I can't. All right, so listen to this. I proposed something. Why don't you XYZ? Why don't you take a vacation with your family, both you and your wife and your kids, for a month to the Bahamas? I can't. Why? I gotta work. Why? You guys know where this is going, right? Gotta pay bills. I said, which bills? He said, you know, mortgage, 2 cars, credit cards. Okay, do you see what's happening? I can't because I gotta pay bills. Which bills? Mortgage, cars, credit cards. There are some other things too. Multiple credit cards, student loans. I think he does some payment plans on like a mattress and some different stuff, right? These are financial tethers. He can't. He is limited. And I said, I thought you said debt wasn't hindering you in any way. Obviously it is. Because of these bills equals can't. AKA a limit, lid, or restriction. Think on this, guys. This is interesting, right? So let's hop over. I'm going to come back to all this. Don't worry. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. If you borrow money with interest, which we all do, you'll end up serving the interest of your creditors. The borrower is servant. You can put a $sign there. Servant to the lender. So in my scenario above, my friend is literally serving the mortgage company. No, he's not. In a way, he is. He's limited by what he can do. His time is not his own. His time now belongs and is split to all the places he owes money to. Guys, are you seeing this? Think about yourself. Think about how you spend your time. The only thing you cannot get back is time. It's the one thing you spend that truly is finite. You only have a certain amount of it. The more debts you have, the more your time is split. Car 1, car 2, mortgage, boat. Some of you, because you have not learned to master money, the only way you know how to make more is to spend time. Well, this has got you working 2, maybe 3 jobs. Both you and your spouse both have to work in order just to pay these bills. Really, what I mean is in order to be servant to the lenders. You have multiple lenders, people lending you money, to which you are now the slave or servant to. You cannot do something because of the money that you owe. Oh man, this gets so crazy and so deep. Okay, so let's look at this. The borrower is servant to the lender. All right, let's look at what Jesus said in Luke 4:8, and he's actually quoting Old Testament. I think he's quoting maybe Deuteronomy. Let's see if this shows us over here. And Jesus replied, "Get behind me, Satan. You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." New Living says, "You must worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Over and over again in all these different translations. Serve only God. Only. But Proverbs 22 says, if you have a lender in your life, you are serving him. So which is it? Can you serve both? I don't know. I mean, Jesus said, you shall serve only your God. Does only mean you can have multiple? Here's what that makes me think of. Let's go to Matthew 6:24. So Jesus said, serve only God. Proverbs 22 says, if you borrowed, you're a servant to the lender. Matthew 6:24, again, this is Jesus talking. What does he say? He says, you can't serve two masters. Jesus speaks when he says things like no one can serve two masters. You can't serve two. That doesn't mean like, oh, most people can't. Or, well, that's not exactly what it means, Trav. I kind of can't. No one. All right? Let's keep reading. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will stand by and be devoted to one and despise and be against the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, which is deceitful riches, money, possessions, or whatever is trusted in. He says you cannot serve two masters. So you might be saying, well, Trav, I don't really think money is my master. Is money your master? So let's look at it. On the outset, I think we would all raise our hands and say, no, I do not serve money. I serve God. And I would agree. Except, years and years ago, I read this scripture, and God arrested me and asked me some questions. I blew right past it. I was like, oh yeah, no big deal. I don't serve money. I serve God. I'm a tither. I give. Things like this. And he said this to me. Okay. The last time you had a chance to give at church, given the offering, listen to this. Did you ask me, as in God, did you ask God how much to give? Or did you ask your bank account? Most people, when they get a chance to give, they either don't give, and why not? They don't give because they don't think they can afford it. Or you're thinking, I will give if after I pay my bills, I have some extra. How little could I give without really feeling the pain of it? That's how much I will give today. Don't tell me I'm not hitting home. I'm hitting the nail on the head. Or maybe you're like me and I've committed to, I'm going to give something every time the bucket goes by, so to speak. Every time I get an opportunity, I'm going to give. Well, that's how I operate. And at the time when the Lord was teaching this to me 6-7 years ago, I would think about my bank account. Sometimes I'd pull it up, see how much I had in there, and I would say, oh, I'll give $25. That won't really hurt. I won't really notice. That's what I'll give today. Listen, that might not sound like a big deal. That might sound subtle, but what was I doing? I was literally asking money what I can and can't do. That's not serving God. That's literally the definition of serving money. Hey, bank account. Hey, amount of money I have. What can I do? Tell me my limits, please. Hey, bank account. How much can I give? What can I do? How much should I? In your mind, you're saying, hey, bank account, give me my instructions. And it's subconscious. You're not consciously asking that. But based off of your actions, I know you are doing this. And look, I'm just as guilty. I've had to work on this and continually work on this. God is always refining me and making me better in these types of areas. But listen, I'm trying to make you aware of something you didn't even know you were doing. That's what I needed. So now I'm sharing it with you because after I got this revelation, my finances can finally take off. I'm trying to get you in a spot where your finances can finally take off. You're serving money way more than you realize. Way more than you realize. You go to a restaurant. It's date night. You finally have date night with your wife, with your husband, with your spouse. And you go there, you've been drooling and dreaming about that steak. And then you get there and you see the menu. They've changed some prices around. The steak is now $55. But the chicken, the roasted chicken, delicious, is only $25. And next thing you know, you are shopping on the menu at a date night with your spouse based off price. That's just another way of you saying, hey, bank account, give me my instructions. Or dare I say, mammon. Because look back to verse 24. You cannot serve God and mammon, which is something, whatever is trusted in. Deceitful riches, money, possessions, or whatever is trusted in. This is an example of you not trusting God, but trusting the amount of money in your bank account. Not trusting God. You're trusting your bank statements. Hey, bank account, where can I go on vacation? Hey, bank account, what can I get here? Hey, bank account, what should I do here? How much should I give here? If you are going to trust your bank account and live in the natural, not the supernatural, this right here, you are going to live a very limited life. Because you are taking out the supernatural. You are taking out God's help and you're trying to figure it all out on your own. You are quote unquote operating in wisdom. It's the world's wisdom, but you are limiting yourself. You are not trusting God. You are trusting your bank account. And that's not how we do it. Next time the offering bucket goes by, you say, God, what's my part to play in this offering? How much seed do you want me to sow to reap the harvests that you have for me? You ask God, not your bank account. And I know what I'm saying might be a tough pill to swallow at first, but I also know the results of my life, the fruit of my life. And I promise you, I mean this with all respect to God, in honor to God, is you want the fruit I have. You want this life. It is awesome. And it's not just financially, it goes to all areas of life. Because it talks about in Luke 16, I believe, if God cannot trust you with filthy riches or filthy lucre, he can't trust you with the stuff that really matters. He's basically saying, if you can't figure out this money thing, if you can't get this part, I can't trust you with the stuff that actually matters. So I'm trying to help you get this stuff, this money stuff, the spiritual principles, the kingdom principles behind money. I want you to have understanding and walk in the light when it comes to money so that God can trust you with the stuff that really matters. Okay? That's my heart behind this. I don't want you to live a limited life, because if you live a limited life, he's not going to be able to fully use you. Back up to the original statement that he gave me. Travis, for me to fully use you, I need you completely free from all financial tethers. So we learned in Proverbs 22:7, the borrower is servant to the lender. You're serving a mortgage company. You are literally you're saying, here is my time. I'm going to be away from my family for 10 to 12 hours a day, maybe even sometimes on the weekend. Don't forget the commute. Don't forget all the mental time I'm thinking about my job and stress and a boss and all those things. What if I lose my job? And how am I going to pay my bills? And all right? And then Jesus said in Luke, you serve only God. Don't serve anything else, just God. And then Matthew 6:24 says, you can't serve two masters. And then we ask ourselves, wait, is money my master? Because I keep asking money stuff or mammon stuff. See, there's a definition of mammon that I like, and it says this. It says it's money personified and opposed to God. So you should picture Mammon guy. There's also lots of teachings out there that Mammon is a spirit that's on money. Mammon personified and opposed to God. Opposite God. He opposes him. He brings opposite viewpoints. For instance, I'll use my offering plate example again. Okay, this is the offering plate at church. It's going by, and you've got two options. As soon as it comes by, you might have this thought, put $200 in there. Immediately what happens? Okay, so let's think about this. You had a generous thought, give $200. Immediately what happens? Another thought comes. There's always a second thought, right? Mammon personified, Mammon as a person, comes and whispers in your ear and says, you know what? You actually have that cell phone payment coming up, and then you've got that birthday party you got to buy a gift for. You should probably just give $20. And you think, oh yeah, that's wise. Good job, brain. I almost made a mistake by being generous. I'm going to give 20. And what does that do? You just limited yourself and what God can do in your life. You guys getting this? You might see a homeless person, same thing. Give them whatever in your wallet. And then you think about all the stuff. Wisdom comes in, mammon comes in, money personified and opposed. Remember, it's an opposite thought. Here's a generous thought. And then you got the opposite one, a lack thought, a scarcity thought. And you went in and you took the lack thought. You bought the chicken when you really wanted the steak. You say you can't afford to do date nights because you can't afford a babysitter. Well, next thing you know, your marriage is on the rocks, right? All these things when all you had to do was just ask God and follow the instructions. That's all you had to do. He's your source. He's your supplier. Not your job, not your boss, not your 401k, not your health benefits. No, it's God. We are doing this. This is how the enemy works, guys. All these different... I had a video called Death by 1,000 Poverty Paper Cuts. Go look it up. It's on YouTube. It's this type of thing all the time. Little paper cuts. What you give an offering. How you don't give what God told you to that homeless guy. How you buy the cheap stuff, the crappy stuff, the junky stuff. You have crappy cars, you live in crappy houses and crappy neighborhoods because you're like, this is all I can afford, this is all I can afford, this is all I can afford because this is all someone to pay me because I don't have a college degree and I can't get a better job. Stop. Oh my goodness. All of that is saying I don't trust God as my source. When he's just saying, hey, draw near to me, I'll draw near to you. Just seek me first in my kingdom. I'll add everything unto you. But you got to trust me. You got to take some action steps. I love you guys. I really hope this is coming through. I hope you are getting this. I want to give you an illustration that has really, really helped me see what debt has done to me and to anybody. Here's what debt looks like in the spiritual realm. All right, the Bible talks about we have a race to run. We are running our race as one who wins, okay? We are going to run our race as one who wins. I want to run as fast as I can. It says to strip off all the weight that could easily ensnare you. I want to run and I want to get a job done for God. So I want to picture you. And you're running forward, chasing after the things God has for you. Your mission, your calling, your assignments. It could be starting a business. I know I talk to people who dream of being missionaries to other countries. You want to write books. You want to preach. You want to start a church. You have all these things that God has put on your heart to do, and they light you up when you think about it. And you think, oh, that would be the dream life. But what happens? Well, you're married. You got a car. And you have to go. I don't have the cash for it, so I go to the bank and I get a loan. This loan costs me $500 a month for this van for the family, minivan for the family. Each time we do this, you get a tether. You need another car because, husband and wife. Some cool little sports car. Another tether. This guy's slowing down a little bit. He can't run quite as fast as he once did. We got to get a house, of course. This one's $3,000 a month. It's a little bit of a heavier chain. A bit of a heavier tether. That's $3,000 a month. And then, of course, I got some credit cards. That's a tether. Got this one here. It's another tether. This one, is $200 a month. This one's $300 a month. And look, the average American has way more debt than just that right there. I remember an acquaintance of mine. He had an opportunity to go and be, my church was opening a new campus in another city. And they were presented with the opportunity to be the campus hosts of that place. It would be full-time. They'd be in full-time ministry. A dream of theirs, something that they've always wanted. But what they did is they looked at his current job and they looked at what the new salary would be if they took this full-time ministry position. And it wasn't quite enough to cover this current lifestyle. So what do you think they did? They, and I'm using quotations on purpose, they prayed about it and decided it was not wisdom to take the ministry job. What's wrong with that? It is something on their heart, an amazing opportunity and honor. They ain't asking a ton of people to take that position. It's a huge honor to be able to do that. But they prayed about it, and perhaps mammon, money personified, opposed to God, showed them that it was not wisdom. Why? Boil it down to its simplest form. Because with the new job, Because with the new job, they wouldn't have the money. This is all in the natural, okay? Because with the new job, it didn't make enough money to pay their debts. And that's kind of the gravity and seriousness I want you to see this as. It's not they couldn't pay their bills, it's that they could not pay or service their debts if they were out working for God. I hope I don't have to connect every dot for you here. I hope you guys are getting this to see, oh my goodness, this is how most people, most Christians live. Do you guys get it? Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other, or stand by one and be devoted to one and despise and be against the others. You cannot serve God and mammon. But listen, they literally said no to this mission and this assignment from God and said yes to their life of debt. And this is why so few people are fulfilling the call of God on their life, because they stuck themselves in this position where they are locked and tethered and held down by the debts that they owe. Listen, a debt is a promise, or in the spiritual, a covenant. You have made a covenant with this lender that you will pay them. And so you've said yes to paying them and no to serving God, at least in your fullness of capacity. At least with giving Him 100%. Okay? Now listen. How different do you think this would be if my friend did what it says in Romans 13:8, owe no man anything except the debt of love? So think about it for a minute. All of a sudden, so we're looking at, let's see, $1,000, $4,000, it's $4,500 right here. That's super conservative. It's probably $6,000, $7,000 a month in debt. All right, super conservative. But imagine for a minute if he didn't owe on that car and he freed up that $500. He didn't owe on this car and that freed up $500. He didn't owe on the house, so now he's free from that $3,000 a month payment and a $200 a month payment and a $300 a month payment. And that little tether's gone. And all that money that he's paying out in debts, it gets moved over here. And now he's got $4,500 a month to put to work on mission. Now he's free. Now he can run 100 miles an hour towards what God has for him. I was talking to a buddy about being a missionary. And he was like, man, I kind of have a heart for this other country. And man, that would be so awesome to move there. Well, he's married and he's got kids. And I started asking him some questions. I had this in mind. And I said, it sure would be a lot easier for you to move to that country if you didn't have any debt, wouldn't it? And he lit up. It's like, absolutely. I could actually move if I didn't have any debt. Isn't that interesting? Basically, what these guys are saying to me is, I could actually do what God put on my heart if I didn't have any debt. Think on this for a minute. I could actually do what God put on my heart if I didn't have any debt. Debt is a promise you've made, a covenant you've made, and each one of these promises is a new tether. It is one more shackle that is slowing you down and holding you back from being fully used by God. No, debt is not a sin, but it is a hindrance. And the times are short. I want to redeem that time. The Bible says, redeem the time because the days are evil. And that's really what's happening when we get deeper in debt, is we are really giving up more of our time. Time that could be used to do the things God put on your heart. I've invited people to church on the Sunday before, and they say, I can't. I have to work. And I go back down that line. Well, what do you mean you have to work? Why? Well, I got bills to pay. Well, what bills? Mortgage, car, all those things. So you mean your time is not your own because of the financial covenants that you've made to other people. You're literally a servant to them. I cannot go to church because I have to pay, because I have to work. I have to work because I have to pay off my debts. I have to serve my debts. Hey, come with me on this mission trip for 2 weeks. I can't. I have to work. Why do you have to work? Because I got to serve my debts. Please understand this. I'm trying to get you in a spot where God can fully use you. Here's what feels really, really good. Financial margin. To me, financial margin equals freedom. And that's just a part of it. Because, like I said, I have good financial margin, yet God told me he needs me free from all financial tethers for him to fully use me. So what we teach in the Increase method and the Increase philosophy is create financial margin, yes, but do it by increasing what flows into your life through kingdom money principles, not decreasing. It's not an exception to the rule. It is almost foundational at this point, is let's use our increase to get debt-free so that we can experience the ultimate freedom. Now, at the time of this recording, I have not yet paid off my house completely. I have this house, and then I have 2 rental properties that have a little bit of debt still on them to pay. In my mind, all of those, from my perspective, are very small amounts, even on our main home here. I am believing with a fiery passion to have this thing paid off in 6 months or less. Because of the marching orders, Travis, for me to fully use you, I need you completely free from all financial tethers. Let's do it. And look, I've been in the finance space for a while. I've got wealthy friends. I've got people in the money space. And they've all got teachings. A lot of them have teachings on, oh, no, stay in debt. You don't ever want to pay your house off because of the tax write-offs and because of these different things. And you can borrow money at a lower interest rate, and that would be stupid. And all. No, you are all teaching me worldly wisdom. I have instructions from the Lord. I'm going to follow those instructions, not man's wisdom. We know that God's wisdom is different than worldly wisdom. So me personally, I'm not going to be servant to anybody except God. And I'm encouraging you. My hope was with this training in this video, you see what I now see, what happens in the spiritual. And look, there's so many other things, negatives that happen in the spiritual with debt. You know that the number one cause of divorce is fights over money. But what it really is, guys, is fights over money that you have to pay towards debts. Don't you see? If you didn't have any mortgage payments, car payments, and credit card payments, you and your spouse wouldn't be fighting. The money fights are about that. Why did you spend money on this? We need it to pay the bills. Usually one's conservative in their spending and one's a little bit more liberal in their spending. And then you bump heads because one guy's worried about the bills and the other person isn't. And how come you don't care? Man, aren't you scared? You should be concerned because we got all these things we have to pay. But it seems like you don't care because you just spend money on food and Target and whatever. You know all that goes away if you owe no man nothing but to love him. You know all that goes away if you didn't have $3,000 mortgage payment, $600 car payment, $800 car payment, 2, 3, 4 credit card bills. You got a loan on your mattress. You got a loan on your furniture set in your living room. If you didn't have those things, y'all wouldn't be fighting. It removes the fuel from that fighting flame. So many other things. Losing sleep at night. Stressed. Giving yourself an ulcer. Working yourself into sickness. Working your life away and missing your family growing up. Why? Because you gotta pay your debts. Almost every decision you make is based around the debts you've incurred. You gotta stop and think about it. Challenge my beliefs. Challenge what I'm saying. Pause the video. Think about it for a minute. Get quiet. Ask the Lord for help and instruction and wisdom on this. Think about how you spend your time and why you spend it the way you do. Think about the conversations you have with your spouse and your kids. Think about the conversations you have with your friends. Think about why you're still in that job you hate. Because of your debts. The covenant promises you made to pay a lender. Y'all getting this? I'm trying to be a little bit in your face about it. Because let's stop being casual about this life of debt. Let's get to a life of freedom. I read a financial book by a famous pastor here in America, and he said something very interesting. He said, true wealth begins once you are out of debt. That puts you at ground zero. Until you're out of debt, you actually haven't started building wealth. You're actually beneath the line. You're actually down here. Once you're debt free, you can start at zero and start to build up from there. I like that. I like that thought a lot. So, if you're with me, and if you're seeing this, and look, there's other scriptures. You can go to, the famous Deuteronomy 28 scriptures where it says all the blessings that come into your life. Well, one of them says, you will be the lender and not the borrower. And then you go to the curse side of that scripture, so Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 56, and it talks about how you will have to borrow and borrow and borrow, and you will not be a lender. You will be a borrower under the curse of not obeying the voice of the Lord. If you obey the voice of the Lord, all his promises shall come upon you and overtake you. And one of those says, you will be able to lend to people, but you won't need to be a borrower. Again, borrowing isn't sin. That's why it says you can be a lender. We're not helping people get into sin. But I do believe it's a huge hindrance to doing what God has called you to do. Almost every reason you could give me as to why you haven't written that book, started that business, did that mission trip, became a missionary, launched the orphanage, launched the church, all those different things that you've dreamt about. If you told me, even if you're like, hey, all I want to do is run a nonprofit. Hey, maybe you want to work somewhere. You want to work over here. You want to be a school teacher. But almost every single reason you tell me why you can't is because you're still in debt. And what you're really saying is, I have to work at this thing I don't want to do to make the money because that's the only way I know how to make money. And I got to use it to pay the financial covenants I made to have my houses and my cars and my stuff. All at the expense of you not doing what God has called you to do. This is important. You're saying no to God so you can say yes to more money. I'm just being real with you. And look, I'm working this out myself. I'm not saying I'm fully arrived, but I'm getting after it. I haven't fully arrived, but I've left. I've left the dock. I'm on the way. I'm trying to get you to come on the way with me. Okay? So what do we do? Here's the first thing. You need to see and feel both. Debt freedom living. All right? That might sound funny, but that's what we need to do. Is you need to take a minute, and I do this exercise, and I sit back and I think about life with no debt. What would you do? Maybe you'd still work, but maybe you'd quit that job and go do the one you really want, because you got a ton of financial margin. And instead of having to pay 10 grand a month in bills, now you only have to pay 2 grand a month in bills. And it's like electric and cell phone and stuff like that. Man, that would be pretty awesome. I wouldn't really have any pressure. We could probably take that job as a school teacher I've been wanting to do, and you could go work at the full-time ministry position. You could be over the kids department at your church or something. Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, because then our time would be free. And then I've been wanting to write that book. Well, I'd have the whole summers off because I'd be a teacher. I could write the book. Oh man, yeah, this would be great. And you start to see, what would that feel like when your paycheck comes in, and instead of it all going out to bills, it just stays. You get to actually keep the majority of the money that comes in. What would you do with it? Man, now you could be wildly generous. Now maybe you could help start paying some stuff off for your parents. Let's start getting them debt free so they can feel this too. They're in retirement, so they're feeling financial pressure. What if you could help them a little bit? Send them $500 a month or something. That wouldn't be a big deal because now you got so much margin. You could be that blessing. Yeah, I could keep extra cash on me, and then when I do see homeless people, I'm ready to go, or whatever's on your heart. Start to see that. Start to feel that. Do whatever you got to do. Sit in the dark, put some music on, but see it. And I'm stressing or emphasizing you have to feel what it is like living debt-free if you really want it to happen. 2, pick a debt and attack it. I would probably pick a smaller one. A lot of people teach start with your credit card bills. I think that's a good one because those ones can be real painful because you can see what happens if you just pay the bare minimum and every single month you just got that lingering debt, that lingering weight as you see it. That bill come through every month. Man, just attack it. All right? And this is going to play in what I do. Ask God for the strategy. Your next step. You don't have to figure this out on your own. That's the best part. You have supernatural help. And listen, it is a huge mistake to believe that God will not help you here. Well, Trav, I've been a bad steward, so obviously I've got to, just pay my dues and lie in the grave I dug. No. It's like saying, wait, God won't help me. I've been sinning, but God won't help me because I've been sinning. I got to get my life right. I got to get some stuff together first before I go to church and before I go to God. Wait, what? That's how you think? No wonder you're in a bad spot. You can't get yourself right. That's why you go to God. He's the only one that can get you right. He's not punishing you, and he's not punishing you for making financial mistakes. That's not taught in the Bible. That's something religion made up. That's not real. If you made a financial mistake, you just say, God, I apologize. I messed up. I didn't know what I was doing. I made a bad decision. Please help me. What's my next step here? How do I get out of debt? How do I attack this? How do I increase? And he will tell you what to do. He will give you that next step. James 1:5 promises he will give you the next step. But you got to ask. And then you've got to execute. Step 4, you're going to laser focus and execute. So for me, typically what happens is I get my next step and I write it down on a note card. So I put that note card right in front of me. It's right in front of my computer with the one thing, the next step. And this helps me laser focus and execute. So I'll have a note card and it would just say, pay off credit card. Whatever the strategy God gives you, I write that on a note card and I put it right here. It's a simple sentence and I'm looking at it and I'm saying I'm getting after it. I call that debt paid. God, I thank you that you give me the desires of my heart. If I delight myself in you, I'm delighting myself in you. Desire of my heart is to be completely debt-free with a ton of financial increase coming in every single month. All right, I'm getting after it. Thank you for the strategy and how to pay off my credit card. And I'm looking at it. I'm starting my day with it. I see it throughout the day. He's given me that strategy and I'm laser focusing. I'm going to pay this thing off. I'm counting it done now. In faith, I'm calling that thing paid. That's how you talk. That's how you see it. That's how you get after it. And then once that one's paid, you just move on to the next one. All right, Lord, which one should I pay off next? The car? Okay, perfect. And then I go make a new note card that says, pay off the car. And now I'm laser focused. Now we're getting after it. We're going to pay this thing off. Come on, baby. And it's just that repeated process. It's just that formula. And one thing I have to do is come back up to step number 1 and make this a daily exercise, at least once a day. In the mornings is a great time before the rest of your house wakes up. House is quiet. Maybe you got to go to your car for a little bit. Maybe you have to go hide out in the closet or the bathroom or something. Wherever you got to do to get alone and get quiet, put your AirPods in and just start to see and feel yourself debt-free. See yourself with what you're going to do once you're debt-free. I'm going to start that ministry. I'm going to be serving at church all the time. I'm going to actually act like a church employee except they don't even have to pay me. I'm going to be up there so much. See yourself doing that. What are you going to do now that you're free and you are serving at your church every day? You're going to go up to the offices and you're going to help consult in these areas. You're going to help them with this. You're going to make phone calls. You're going to build this thing out for the kids ministry. What is it? Maybe it's you want to start a business. You've always had this dream of this business God put on your heart, but you can't because you're serving money right now and you want to serve God. And listen, guys, I'm telling you, when you serve God, all the money comes. If you got desires to get wealthy and stuff, that's fine. I'm not saying don't have those desires. And again, I'm not saying debt is sin. I'm saying it's a hindrance. And I want to encourage you to break free from those hindrances. I wanted to make you aware of what's actually happening in the spiritual each time we add a new debt to our lives. We get one more shackle that slows us down just a little bit more. And next thing you know, you cannot say yes to God because you are actually saying yes to serving your debts. You're saying, I would rather serve my debtors, the lenders. I would rather serve the mortgage company, the car payments, Amex, and all the credit card companies. I would rather serve them than serve God. God gave me marching orders. I said no because I would rather pay my debts and not have these companies coming after me. And look, you do need to pay your debts. You made them a promise. You need to fulfill on your promise. That's character and integrity. You need to do it. But let's get out from under that so we can get over here and serve God fully. Oh man, I almost feel like I need to draw that out. If nothing else, it's just for me. God's orders over here. Debt institution over here. You're in the middle. Which way do I go? God gave you an assignment or a mission. And you got your mortgage, car number 1, car number 2, credit card 1, credit card 2. Got to get that boat, maybe even that lake home. And you're telling me I can't serve two masters. I don't. I serve God. I go to church. Yeah, cool. I do too. I get that. But what happens is you are literally saying, yes, I will serve you guys. And you're saying, no, I can't do that. That's not wisdom. I've got to pay the bills. Please don't live your whole life this way. If you don't do something about it now, you're going to live this way in your 30s, and then it's going to get worse in your 40s because you're going to add student loans and college debt and buy your kids a car and all those different things. You just get more shackles, more shackles, more shackles, more chains, and it's just heavy and heavy and heavy and just ties you down and just weighs you down and shuts you down. And next thing, all you do is just serve these things. Let's just crush them. Let's just knock them out. Let's get ahead financially. Do these 4 steps so that you can come over here and say yes to God every time, quickly. That's all I'm trying to get you to do, is I'm trying to get you free from mammon, from debt, so that you can say yes to God. And I want you to examine yourself. Is this happening in your life? And where is it happening? Small things matter. If it feels like this is kind of happening here and there, it's a big deal. Let's crush it. God will help us. Like I said, I've made huge strides in paying off debt over the last year. And it's simply because I just followed this formula. I asked God for help on it. And I'm just executing it. I want to say yes to God all the time. I want to be able to give more than I've ever given. I want to be able to do more and have more time freedom to serve Him. That's what I want. All that really matters in life, guys, is that you fulfill the call on your life. That's really all that matters. Doesn't matter how much money you make or the mansions and the cars. I like those things. I like mansions and cars. I like making a lot of money. I enjoy wealth. No, that's not the point. And I'm not saying you cut everything and cut all your expenses and go live in a shack and go buy a crappy car now, but you have a nice one. I'm not saying downsize. I'm not even saying downsize. I'm saying ask God for the strategy. And what we teach is the God I serve always gives me increase strategies. Hey, sell this thing. Hey, write this book. Hey, launch this product. Hey, start this YouTube channel. Hey, launch this coaching program. Hey, launch this thing. Help these people. Create this, create that. Sell this, sell that. He gives me those types of strategies, and I increase my way to crush that debt. That's my preferred method. I love you guys. I really hope this helped you. I really hope this opened your eyes. Ask God for some more insight on this. If you want our help, man, we've got programs called Kingdom Money Mastery, Increase University, Passive Income Engines, ways to create more money. We got this awesome program below. I'll put a link in the description. We talk about joining the Increase Army. You get access to all those trainings to show you how to create this life you can't wait to wake up for. I want to help you get ahead financially. I want to help you escape the budgeted life. I want to help you crush debt so you never have to worry about that stuff again, so that you are free to do what God has put on your heart. I love you guys. I'll see you on the inside.